These are some of the most unique creatures on Earth. Lemurs can only be found on one single island, Madagascar. Yet they have diversified into over 100 species, from the tiny mouse lemur all the way to the majestic Indri, which is famous for its eerie songs. And all of them rely on an ancient forest ecosystem that is now disappearing at an alarming rate, as wildfires and deforestation are pushing lemurs closer and closer to extinction. But now a new movement is forming, as more and more people are coming together to bring Madagascar's lemur forests back to life. So we sent Cassia to this remote island to help transform this back into this, and to learn how we can create a future where people and nature can thrive together. We are Planet Wild. Welcome to Mission 24.
Right now, we're heading into the heart of our story. It's one of the last remaining strongholds of the lemurs. Now, it's a 12-hour drive to Vanishing National Park, where something incredible is happening. Let's go. So lemurs are actually a perfect example of what makes Madagascar so special. Over 80% of the wildlife here, including lemurs, is found nowhere else in the world. The island of Madagascar has been floating on its own for around 90 million years, and that means that most life here evolved in complete isolation into what we see today. And what we see today is pretty remarkable. This is the fusa, a cat-like creature and the island's largest predator. And what about the giraffe weevil? A beetle with a neck 3 times the length of its body, and the satanic leaf-tailed gecko. I mean, what more needs to be said about that? And this is just scratching the surface of the biodiversity. Okay, sorry, I'm getting distracted here. Back to the mission. And I think we're about to arrive in lemur territory. Here in these lemur forests, we're meeting Mami. He's an expert on lemurs and the director of Planet Madagascar, the organisation that is transforming the landscape here to protect these beloved animals. There are actually many communities of people living within these forests, and Planet Madagascar's revolutionary approach is putting these communities at the heart of their conservation, and that's what we're here for. But first, we want to meet some lemurs, and Mami knows exactly how to find them.
You do have to look up, you have to be quiet and listen to the forest.
It's incredible.
This is the cockerel sifaka.
This is just one of more than 100 species of lemur, and they come in all shapes and sizes. But one thing they do have in common is a wet nose. Kind of like a cat or a dog, it's their shiny snout that gives them an incredible sense of smell. And this is a key evolutionary feature because it allows lemurs to communicate using scent signals. Their hands and feet are perfectly adapted for life in the trees, but that means that down on the ground they don't really know what to do, so they do this kind of hopping, jumping dance, and it's absolutely adorable. Lemurs are an essential keystone species within these forest ecosystems. That's because they spend their time eating a lot of fruits and seeds. Dispersing seeds creates new trees and keeps the forest alive. Where these particular lemurs call home is a very special place. It's a unique ecosystem called a dry forest because the trees here have evolved to withstand months without water. Now, during the dry season, the lemurs like to take it easy, even do a spot of sunbathing, but they always know to sleep with one eye open because there's one threat here that can come completely out of nowhere. Fire can tear through this dry forest in minutes. The loss of their habitat is the major threat to lemurs and all wildlife here. Between 50 and 80% of Madagascar's forests are gone due to logging and fires. Farmers here often use fire to stimulate growth of new grass for their cattle, but small fires can easily spread in the dry climate and can take out huge areas of forest at a time. If this deforestation continues at its current rate, there could be no forest left by 2050. And with no forests, wild Madagascar could end up looking like this. Deforestation means that there are no roots to stabilize the soil and the earth dries up, making it much more vulnerable to erosion. Over time, erosion has created this otherworldly landscape. So if we don't rebuild the forest, the land could eventually fall away, making recovery impossible. The loss of forest is leading to a dramatic decline in lemur population. In fact, 95% of lemur species are threatened with extinction, making them the most threatened group of mammals on the planet. So right now, the lemurs of Madagascar need more forest, and we're here because the Planet Wild community is kicking off a 3-step plan to make it happen. Step 1, fight the wildfires. This is the community firefighting force of the Vanishing National Park. Planet Madagascar employ 18 people across 3 local communities to do patrols and to fight fire. As soon as a fire is detected, the alarm call goes out and they emerge from the forest. The team works fast to prevent the spread, digging up sand onto the fire and pumping water to put out the flames. And when the fire's out, we can move on to step 2. Prevent these fires from reaching the forest at all. The team here are creating a protective barrier by digging 17.5 kilometers of firebreak. This is essentially a giant wall that the fire can't pass. That's why the Planet Wild community is providing the fire patrol with brand new equipment and 3 years of salary for the fire prevention manager. All this supports the local community in their work to protect wildlife.
At the heart of our work is the community. 80% of rural Madagascar live in poverty. Natural resources from forests are their only means of survival. When people are struggling to survive themselves, protecting wildlife is not their priority. To protect lemurs, we must consider the need of people.
Providing an income based on protecting the forest creates a new economy here that benefits both the community and the wildlife. But what about the people who still depend on farming this land? So at this point, it would be really easy to tell a story of good versus evil, painting a picture of ruthless farmers who disregard nature for their own benefit. But actually, that would be wrong.
These people are not evil. They need to make a living for their family like everyone else.
Well, the truth is that farmers here will continue to use fire in their work, but by communicating with farmers and making agreements to limit burning, many future wildfires will be avoided. And if we can stop the fire and cut it off at the source, then we can rebuild the forest. In order to make it happen, we need more trees. That's why we're meeting Bernadette, the leader of the women's cooperative that runs this local tree nursery. They have a really important job because rebuilding a dry forest from scratch is complicated. And through years of research, they've landed on a recipe of 15 different tree species that are needed for a healthy forest. Producing and selling these seedlings provides crucial income for the community, and the seedlings will become the habitat that lemurs desperately need. Again, another win-win for wildlife and the people here. And that is why the Planet Wild community is stepping up with funds for 2 brand new nurseries and 30,000 more trees for the growing forest. Now, we just need to plant them. Planet Madagascar are working together with 3 communities to rebuild 2,000 hectares of their forest. This will be home to the 8 species of lemur that live here, and so far they've planted more than 250,000 trees. In this exact spot, a forest was once burned to the ground, but now a new forest is growing here. And one day this will look like this.
The health of wildlife here is directly linked to the social and economic circumstance of people that live here. We have to confront the reality and work together with the people who also have the right to live here.
And that's why this project is such a win-win. It protects and restores the precious habitat of lemurs and many other species, but it also respects and supports the livelihoods of those communities who live alongside this wildlife and who depend on the land just as much, ultimately fostering the idea that this world is to be shared by all living beings. If you want to help restore our planet, join Planet Wild as a backer and become part of these missions yourself. Every month, we go out to protect our oceans, bring back endangered species, and rewild entire landscapes. And it's all community funded. There's a link in the description and a QR code over here. I'd be thrilled to welcome you to the pack. See you all again next month. Over and out.